Hello everybody, welcome back to the shop. Got some more winter projects going on. It's cold out there and snowy. So what we have here in the vise today is the fuel pump off of my Clark Model PC diesel engine. This is, I imagine it's a vane pump. It's a lift pump basically. It sucks fuel out of the tank, lifts it up to the day tank that's mounted on top of the engine. Then it gravity feeds to the injection pump and injector. And I've had this soaking in a mixture of diesel and waste oil for as long as I've had the engine, about 3 years I suppose. And I don't think it was really seized to begin with, but I wasn't ready to work on it, so I figure I might as well throw it in there. I've already taken a few things off. I took off, there's a bunch of bolts here holding on this end cap, and then 2 bolts just holding the body of the pump onto this mount. And then this of course is the shaft drive, and there was a packing nut and a gland, and I imagine the actual packing is a little bit further in there, and we're gonna get to that when we pop this apart. Okay, so I got the base off. That was easy. That was just on this sort of like a semi-press fit, slip fit diameter there. Nothing exciting. Then I got this back cover off. Now luckily when I was cleaning this up, I happened to just read this tag here. It says it's a Viking, and I just happened to remember that the text was in the proper horizontal readable position like this, because when I pulled this out, there's no dowel pin, there's no orientation clocking, and luckily, well, you know, I suppose I could have figured it out, but this can go in any which way. So it's always good to just keep that sort of thing in mind. This came off pretty easy. I just hit it with a torch just to kind of burn this gasket a little bit. But you can see how it works. Well, this, let's see, this is stuck. And there it is in there. I believe this is called the Girarder style pump. I thought it might have been a vane pump, but it's not. So I got the rest of the packing out, and it's definitely kind of strange. Here's the pump shaft that pressed out. I just used my bench vise as a press, and it came out just fine. And the shaft is also in pretty nice shape too. No pitting or anything, so that'll clean up nice. This is the last bit of packing, I guess you can call it packing, that was inside here, like that. Again, the end of the shaft will be facing us as this is sitting. So there's this thing with slots in it, and a spring, and then another thing, and then inside this thing is a little bit of packing. I had to pry it apart. You see the spring has a washer on the end of it, and there is some packing in there. It's kind of hard to see, but it just looks like grime, but that is actual packing. So I found that very strange, because, you know, so that's laying in there like that. It's springy, and you have this packing gland that pushes down on that, and then this nut. And, you know, maybe I'm used to older technology where behind this gland there would just be a coil of packing, or in this case, since this is a rotating shaft, you'd have rings. If you have a coil, depending on the rotation, that can actually tighten itself. But anyway, that's what I was expecting to find, but I just got this thing. So that spring is maybe like a constant tension sort of apparatus for sealing, but I don't really see how, you know, see it's loose in there, so I don't really see how it's going to seal against the shaft, because any fluid that's in here is just going to go around the OD of this thing. So maybe more sealing is done just by this bushing, this, you know, tight fit bushing. I really don't know, but, you know, I don't need to figure this thing out. I just need to clean it up and put it back together. Well, as I'm just cleaning this up for the final assembly, look at this funny little emblem I found. The initials RV, and that sure looks like an elephant to me. Go figure. The name of the pump doesn't have anything to do with elephants, but there's a funny little elephant there. Alright, so now I'm going to put the packing in here. I've gotten a comment or two here and there about people want to actually see me do this, not just, you know, each video clip is, oh, I did this and oh, I did that. And I understand that. It's more fun to watch it, but also I don't know how much you want to watch me scrubbing and sandpapering some old greasy thing. But I don't know, leave a comment, let me know what you think. But I'll show you the packing. That requires a little bit of doing. Let's flip this around. So when I'm putting the packing in my engines, like my two-stroke you know, Patton Brothers or whatever, when I'm putting the packing in for the piston rod, I just put in a spiral. I just keep stuffing it in until it looks good, then I put the packing gland on. And that's fine because that's a reciprocating shaft. But with this is a rotating shaft, so if you have the spiral, like I said before, it'll bind up if your spiral is the wrong way. So what you should do is make a number of rings of packing. So here I just wrap this around the shaft so I can get the right length. And I'll cut that. And I'm going to do two wraps. I think that'll be just right. It's a little bit of a gap there. I might redo that actually. So I think the problem came in when I wrapped the packing around the shaft, and then that, you know, of course, is just the shaft size, but there's a little extra space inside here. This packing is a little bit skinny. I could use something a little bit fatter. But yeah, I think I'm gonna recut this a little bit longer. Alright, so I'm putting all the guts back in here, and initially I just put some RTV on here and tightened this end plate down, and luckily I tried turning the shaft and it was locked up. So it is important to have a little gasket there, just like it was when it came apart. And you know, I just imagine it just acts as a little shim, because otherwise it squishes together the rotor and everything and nothing's able to turn. So I found some fairly nice thin gasket material and I cut myself a gasket. The technique I used for this, it works fairly well, although I did need to do some adjustment. I put a light coating of oil on here. I suppose you could even use water or something, but oil sticks around. And then you just, you know, turn this upside down and use it like a stamp on the gasket material. And it works out pretty well. And of course I got to make sure to clean it well before I put it all back together, because I am going to use a little bit of Indian head with this. I'm sure it would work fine just as it is, but I'm going to use some Indian head. Now I also thought I might as well do a little bit of educational explanation here, rather than just showing you how to take a pump apart and put it back together. This, like I said, I believe it's called a Girarder pump, and I just wanted to show you how it works. So in here we have this little rotor, and then on the outside there was that larger one here. I'll push it out and you can see it. There it is, and you see two things. You see that this inner rotor, it meshes like that. Also, it is off-center or eccentric to the main shaft. Now here's the cover plate. See, it has a center pin, of course, for that inner rotor, and also has this little crescent moon. that crescent moon fits in this area here on the bottom, and that separates this side here and this side here. Now up here are the ports, the inlet and outlet ports, and really either could be the inlet or outlet. It just depends on which way this is rotating. This particular pump is marked for direction of rotation and inlet and outlet, but if you spun it backwards it would work. It would just flow backwards. So the way this works is as the outer part, I don't know what you'd call that, is rotating, and this inner rotor is held in place, you see it walks around like that. And what happens, watch this volume right here where I'm pointing. See, it gets smaller, right? Now that we have this volume here, it gets smaller. Now watch the same thing on the other side. It gets bigger. Now because we have that little crescent moon that's fitting inside here, that makes two separate chambers between the inner and outer rotors. And on one side, that chamber or that volume is getting smaller, and on the other one it's getting bigger. So as a result, on the, let's see, on the right side, as I'm rotating it now, that's the suction side, because this volume, there's a port, you can see right here, there's a port. So as that is expanding, it's creating a suction, so it sucks fluid in here, and then it travels the fluid around in this little pocket in here, because again, that crescent moon is in there separating it, so it does not look sealed right now, and it's not, but with that crescent moon in there, it makes a little pocket here, a little volume. And then when it comes around to the other side, it squishes down and it squishes that fluid out the other port. So anyway, that's how these things work. They're quite simple and really robust, and you know, this was sitting for who knows how long in disrepair, and just in an afternoon I was able to take it apart, clean it up, and get it back together. I don't know if it'll work. I'm sure it will. This is going to be used to pump diesel, so I mean that might be a little challenging for it because diesel is thin, obviously. If I was pumping oil or anything else thick, it would work even better, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Alright, well, I still don't understand this packing, but I don't have to understand it, just got to put it back together. I did put a third ring of packing in there, and yeah, that's about as much space as there is for packing. But this way, if I put all that in and then this gland, you see there is a little bit of spring action from that spring in there, so that packing is going to be, you know, doing something. And I oiled this up and just tighten it down. This is again a strange packing nut, because my familiarity with packing nuts is that you're supposed to be able to, you know, take up on them as the packing loosens, but this just pretty much bottoms out. So I'm just gonna, you know, give them a little cinch, and that'll be that. And here we are. It is all back together. Got it back on the base. And I just did a quick test and it worked pretty well. You can see here's the original markings. This is the rotation direction. D for discharge, S for suction. See, I squirted some oil in there. You see it's fairly empty down there. And if I rotate the shaft, Now you see that side's empty, and that side's full of oil. See, now it's blowing air bubbles if I keep going. Turn it the other way. So I'd say that works pretty good. So there you go, everybody, just a quick little afternoon project, and it's one small victory in the much larger challenge of getting my Clark diesel going. But I had this, like I said, sitting in the soaking in oil for quite some time, so I figured I might as well just take it apart, make sure it works, and if it didn't work, I could spend time sourcing something similar that would work. But at any rate, it works pretty well. Hopefully it works with the thinner diesel fuel. That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching, and come on back for more.